This is a quick demonstration on how to run an alignment project in Beebox by Wordbee. You'd want to create an alignment project where you have a situation where a translation was done without using translation memory tools, and a translation memory database would be helpful for an update of the project or creating other translation projects. And in order to do that, you do need rather structured content. In other words, you have to make sure that, for example, a simple example is if you have 10 sentences in the English, that you then have the same 10 sentences in German, and that everything lines up properly. For this example, I'm going to use XML files, which, of course, by nature are very well structured and are easy or good candidates for an alignment project. So let's go ahead and get started. So all we have to do once we're in Beebox is go ahead and start up a project. We will call this one alignment test. Of course, I have to be able to spell properly here. Sorry about that. Alignment test. And what we'll do is we'll copy over the properties from a previous project. So this is very important because in these settings you have what are called text extraction rules. And what that does is that helps Beebox understand what text are we looking at within the file. Of course, that's very, very important in XML. We can probably do a whole nother video on how to set up extraction rules. But for this example, let's just understand that those extraction rules are key to making this process work properly. So let's go ahead and choose the languages, source and target. We're going to choose English US as the source language, and we'll go ahead and choose German. We'll choose German for Germany as the target language. And this is very important because translation memory tools, when outputting files like translation memory or even XLIFF files, which is where the translation occurs, are very much keyed on the encoding of the files. So again, German Germany is DE-DE, English US is EN-US, and you'll see those codes right here. So that's going to be important in a few minutes. So we've already created the project, and what we can do now is we can start adding the files. What's great about how Beebox handles this is you'll see that it sets up a temporary directory or a directory for this project, and all we need to do is navigate to that directory to go ahead and add the files. So we'll navigate to that directory. And you'll see the project folders are set up the same each time. So let's see. We'll just compare the project number. If you notice, it starts with 7433. So here it is. We'll start with that. And here you'll see the structure of a typical Beebox project. What we're going to focus on for this example is the in folder and the out folder. There isn't really too much of an importance on the order in which you introduce the files when we're doing it manually. However, we will follow the best practice, and the best practice is to go ahead and introduce the target files first. So you'll notice here are my two XML files, and these are the translated files. So we'll go ahead and introduce those. And then we'll go ahead and introduce the source files, which go into the in directory. Now, we do need to include a little instructions file. So let me just show you what that instructions file is. It's basically just a little piece of script in JSON, and it's very simple. All we're saying is align the following locale, DE-DE. So we're saying we want to do an alignment project, and we want this to be DE-DE. And actually, that brings up a really good point of something that I forgot to do. When we're in the out directory here, we actually need to create a folder with that same language code. So we're going to do DE-DE, and we'll drop the German in there. So now we're all set. Now we'll go back to in, and we'll go ahead and introduce, let me just stretch this out a bit here. We'll introduce the instructions files. And by the way, again, I showed you what was inside that file. In terms of the naming convention, just make sure to have the same exact file name, including the extension. So you'll see this long file name, .xml, and then .beebox. That's all you need for that instruction file. So we'll go ahead and introduce the instruction file. And now we'll introduce the English files. So now we're all set. So at this point, we need to actually tell Beebox that we have files to process now. So we'll choose Process New Files, and you'll see it has picked up the 2 files, and it has set up the project with 116 segments and 1,700 words. So now to check our work, we just need to go to the Translation tab and Files, and we'll choose our language, and now we can go ahead and view the content. And as you'll notice, we have English and our German, and it's perfectly aligned. Of course, you do want to check this because there are issues sometimes that occur in alignment. So what you can do from this step is you can then create a new job and export XLIFF files, or you can export a translation memory file. The XLIFF files are great in case you'd like to import them into a translation management system like Wordbee and double check the alignment, and then you can commit it to memory. But as you can see, this is an easy way to get existing translation aligned and hopefully into a translation memory for future updates. Thanks.